Dan, thanks for joining me today, man. Taking a few minutes out of your busy day. I know you're a busy guy.
Well, sometimes.
I look at you through the prism of social media, and I think that's about that is about as well as I know you. I've never gotten to sit down and talk with you or, have a beer with you or anything, but you always seem like the type of guy that I would want to sit and have a beer with because, like I said, through the prism of social media, you're out doing a lot of the things that I like to do.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're originally from around here.
No, originally I was born in Morris, Illinois, just outside of Chicago.
Yeah, I figured you weren't from around here because people in this area have vowels in their last name. I remember the first time I saw your last name, I was like, man, how do you even say that? But people do the same with me because my last name, Noyola,
Right.
About 7% of people that try to say my last name get it right. So,
and whenever people ask, is that right? Is that a typo? I said, no, that's correct. I said, well, how do you pronounce that? And I'll say Smith.
Smith, right? Yeah. I need to start doing that myself. That's the easy way to do it. So what was Illinois like? What's it like? Was it city or like rural?
It was
area?
rural, very small. I lived in Braidwood, Illinois.
Okay.
I was born in Morris, but I grew up in Braidwood, Illinois, and that's about as far from Chicago as we are from Beaumont, about 73, 75 miles, something like that.
So you could get into the city easy enough for the most part up there. Is it kind of like, because us going to Beaumont from here, it's an easy drive.
Right. But it seemed like I was 17. It was back in 77 whenever we left there and came to Texas. And at the time, it seemed like it took a while to get to Chicago. But I've been back since, and since the rural sprawl or the city sprawl has closed in things, it seems like you're in Chicago in no time now.
Just like, I guess, if you're going from Livingston to Houston,
yeah,
you start hitting
right
all of that.
Everything starts growing up and getting bigger because the town I grew up in, Braidwood, it was a small town. It was a coal mining town.
Okay.
It started off in the turn of the century as a coal mining, Peabody coal mine, strip mining, shaft mining. And then whenever that played out, the town just kind of died and just became a little bedroom community.
Yeah.
And a lot smaller than Jasper. Whenever I moved to Jasper, I thought Jasper was a big town.
Really?
So, yeah.
And you came here when you were 17?
Yeah. I had 2 years of high school left, and my plan was, I was a 17-year-old kid then. I got uprooted from all my friends, all my familiar surroundings, and my plan was to finish high school and go back home to Illinois.
Wow.
But I started working at the Sonic as a roller skating car hop. They opened up the Sonic in February of 77. I moved down here in the fall of 77, and I started working at the Sonic.
Here in Jasper
as a roller skating car hop like March that following year. And I worked myself through the kitchen up front, making drinks, doing prep work. And I got asked by the owner, what do you think about getting into management? And I said, well, what does it pay?
Right.
So it seemed like a lot of money. Man, it was for a kid that back then.
Yeah, and how long before you were, doing working in the kitchen area or whatever those jobs were till the time you got asked for the management position?
I started in 78, early in 78, and it was either later that year or the first of the next year. It was within a year's time that I got into relief management because there was just a manager and an assistant manager back then. So one was working, that most of the time they was working every day. Mm-hmm. If someone got the day off, that meant someone was working 2 shifts back then.
Yeah. So, and we'll get back to where you are now. We'll get to where you are now in a minute, but where you are now, and you look back to the person that you were then, having been there a year, and you think about that manager that was there and ask you to take that position, mm-hmm. what do you think his motivation was to come to you for that? Was it because of the way you were working, or do you think he was just needing somebody for that spot, or what was the deal?
Well, hopefully, and I'm sure he'll say that today, that he's seen something in me. Maybe he just needed a night off. But whatever it was, it worked out. I mean, like I said, my plans were to go back to Illinois after I graduated here in Jasper. Go back with my friends, go back with my familiar surroundings,
And do what?
Well...
Or were you even thinking about that at the time?
No, it's just I thought that's where I needed to go back, because whenever they told us, whenever my mother and father told the family we were moving to Texas, the only thing I knew about Texas back then was movies, Western movies. I thought Texas was all tumbleweeds, cactus, and sand and desert. Whenever I got down here, it was nothing like that. Yeah. Completely different. But my plans changed. Instead of going back to Illinois, I was making good money. I met a girl in high school, ended up marrying her. I graduated in '79, married her the following year, and but she was willing to go with me anywhere, because I was even still flirting with the idea of going back home, and she was okay with that. But I kept advancing, and I went from relief manager to being relief manager for a couple other Sonics up around Dangerfield, Texas, and Pittsburgh, Texas.
Where's that at?
Dangerfield is up past Kilgore.
I know I've been through there before.
It's about 3 hours north of here.
Yeah. Was it the same owner?
Same owner, yeah. He had a store up there.
Because our Sonics, are they kind of like franchises?
Franchise, yeah. Well, there are some company stores, but I was involved with the franchise.
Gotcha.
And then, so I went on to being relief managers for other store managers that didn't have any time off. Mm-hmm. And I'd go up there once a week and, work a night for them, give them a night off, then I'd come back home.
So you're out there making a good name for yourself that, hey, I can step in these stores and run them and take care of business.
Well, I was filling a need at the time, so it worked out for everybody.
Yeah.
But then something happened to the assistant manager here in Jasper. And so I was in Dangerfield one night, and I got the call, says, you need to come back. So I came back. The assistant manager was gone. I got the job as assistant manager, so that put me back in Jasper full-time. Did that for a few years. The manager was looking to get out, the owner, and so I stepped up and became the GM. And I did that for years and years and years. Yeah. Made real good money at it, and I got tired.
Right. Well, let me back up. I had a question about why you guys even left Illinois in the first place. What brought you to Texas in the first place?
I don't know how much of the news or whatever that you listen to about how Illinois government and politics are. The taxes are just outrageous. So
even then, even in the 70s, it was already getting like that, huh?
Right. So plus,
what about crime? Was it because you hear about Chicago now,
right?
And it's like they've got the stats every weekend, how many people get shot. And it's like, what is it? Like 50 or 80 or 100 people on the news. They're like, well, 100 people got shot in Chicago this weekend. Mm-hmm. Was it like that then? Was it?
Well, Chicago was, it's always been like that as long as I can remember. Yeah. It seems like it's a lot worse now. But like I said, we lived about 73 miles away, and Chicago was almost like another state.
Oh, I see. Right.
So we just lived in a small town.
Well, I can relate to that, I guess, in a lot of ways on a different scale, because I was born and grew up in Port Arthur, down by Beaumont, and it's a rough place. It can be a rough place. And right, my 8th grade year in middle school, it was like, you're not going to high school in Port Arthur. Like, we're getting you into the country, So we moved up here, and I moved to Brooklyn, and it was kind of like a culture shock for me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, I can relate. It was a lot of the same, I guess probably a lot of the same way, your parents were thinking, my parents were thinking like, we got to get you out of here. And
right. And like I said, I thought I needed to be back up there. Things worked out where I stayed here. I don't regret it one minute. I mean, I love Jasper. I love the area now. This is where my family's at. And I look back, and a lot of the friends that I would have been hanging out with if I went back are the ones that I hung out with when I was younger. Mm-hmm. You know, half of them are dead or in prison.
Yeah, same with me. I remember from my high school or my middle school days in Port Arthur, I remember hearing in early 2000 that just guys I came up with in grade school, you know, we all went to school together. We were all in the same PE classes and math classes together and stuff. Like one of those guys had shot and killed the other one. Like, you know, years later, we were all probably in our early 20s then, and I'd lost track of them. But I had heard that, you know, guy A had shot guy B and killed him, and I was like, man, we all went to school together.
Right.
What transpired there? And I know that's not the only story like that. There was probably tons of other people that I went to school with down there that, you know, are probably not even with us anymore because something similar happened, or they're in prison, like you said, because just the environment they probably came up in.
I went, like I said, I've been back numerous times since I left. And on one trip, I got with one of my best friends that I hung around with in my younger years. And we was out riding around, and he was wanting to do this and do that. And I said, no, I can't do that. And he said, man, you've changed. And I said, no, I just grew up.
I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got here to Jasper, you worked your way up the ladder with Sonic, and was the guy that had the franchise, is he still the owner today?
Yeah, in fact, I bought into it.
Okay.
And so we're business partners now.
Yeah. So give me an example of what, you know, your day-to-day with the franchise, with Sonic. What's your day like for that?
Well, nowadays it's pretty loose. I mean, I have a pretty open schedule. I'm not on the schedule in any of the stores. I have GMs that are running the stores now. They're the ones making all the money. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm a supervisor technically. Okay. I go around and check on the stores, make sure they're ready for food inspections, safe serve, health inspections, make sure the safety procedures are being followed. Just make sure the GMs are doing their job, just kind of overseeing them. And
that's what's your partner's name?
Bubba, George.
Yeah. And he like how many locations do you got? I was going to say he has, but how many locations do you guys have? Which locations?
Okay, he has I'm partners with him here in Jasper. Mm-hmm. He has another partner in Woodville. He owns Kirbyville 100%. Mm-hmm. And then he has, I think, 7 more in the Golden Triangle area.
Good deal.
That he's just kind of paper partners.
Gotcha. That's so interesting. I had no idea that you started with Sonic back in the 70s like that and just worked your way up.
It's to the only job I've ever had.
This episode of Remember Tomorrow is brought to you by Paradigm Yoga in Jasper, Texas. What? Yoga in Jasper? Yeah. Paradigm Yoga is located in Jasper, Texas. The studio is at 211 North Bowie Street in Jasper, next to Brent Moe's State Farm. They've got a wide range of classes. Never done yoga before? Doesn't matter. They have a friendly community of yogis that will help you get started. Nobody's going to judge you. Nobody's going to be tough on you. Just a wonderful group of people that practice yoga together. You don't need to be flexible. All you need is an open mind and a willing heart. Check out their schedule on the internet at paradigmyoga.com. That's PARADIGM yoga.com, or on Facebook at the Paradigm Yoga page. Just search for that. You should be able to find it. Wide variety of classes to suit you. Yoga Sculpt, where you use a little resistance in the yoga flows, chair-assisted yoga for those that may be a little less mobile, and everything in between. So check out the schedule online, read up on what each class is about, or if you got a question, give Shona a call at 409-698-6335, or just read more online at the website at paradigmyoga.com. Well, you also spend a lot of your time these days with some community events. I see that you're involved in different stuff. One of the things I know that you're involved with is called SNPs.
Yes.
Tell me about SNPs a little bit.
Okay, SNPs, that's an organization that assists people with the spaying or neutering of their pets at low cost or even sometimes no cost. And we just seen a need for it with the overpopulation of stray dogs and cats in our area. Instead of focusing on adoption and trying to go that route, we decided to form our own group and focus on spay and neuter, because we felt that spay and neuter was the key to getting rid of the overpopulation of the unwanted pets.
That's called that's got an official name. Did you know that? It's called the Bob Barker theory.
Oh, okay. Well, he was a big influence on us,
that?
and officially, anybody that gets donations from his organization, funding from organization, is not supposed to say they got donations from his organization. So I won't say that, but yeah, that is still an active organization. The Bob Barker.
Unofficially, there's actually a connection.
Yeah.
With SNPs and his organization to prevent overpopulation by spaying and neutering your pets.
Unofficially.
Gotcha. Totally gotcha. Well, who would have known that? So other funding, where does other funding for because I know there's not, I can imagine that the veterinarians that perform these procedures are not able to 100% absorb the cost for doing that.
No, that you couldn't expect them to.
You can't expect them to do that.
We do shop around and find some that can kind of help us out with a break on the pricing. And we have found there's a veterinarian out of Troop, Texas. And before we went with her, we kind of followed her around for 2 years before we switched over and started using her. But she has a mobile clinic. It's a huge fifth wheel trailer that she pulls behind her truck, and it's set up as a mobile veterinarian unit. And she sets up in different towns almost 7 days a week. She's a hard worker.
Performing the Lord's work of spaying and neutering animals.
Yes. And she's down in Jasper. In fact, tomorrow we go and set up for her, and she's down in Jasper once a month.
Yeah. So with that being said, I know that you couldn't expect these veterinarians to absorb the whole cost of these procedures. So give me an example of where your other funding comes from to support this awesome program.
Well, it's donations and fundraisers. We have a lot of members and patrons that donate money to us, and the bulk of our money actually comes from fundraisers like Azalea Fest, Fall Fest. We'll set up a little food trailer, or we'll set up, we have our weenie dog races that we've done in the fall, and people seem to enjoy that, and we get sponsors from the community to sponsor that, and that brings in money. Yeah,
I was going to say it would probably be a lot of you probably have to sell a lot of funnel cakes and hot dogs to cover the cost of the program. So I can imagine that a lot of community support, people making donations, is a big help.
Definitely, yeah. So, and we always tell them, they make this possible. Whenever they give us a donation, we couldn't do it without their help.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get involved, it's just make a donation and go as far as even getting involved with other stuff, helping at fundraisers or something. How's the best way for them to find out more information about SNPs or get in contact with somebody if they wanted to, donate or volunteer?
Okay. We're in the book. It's listed as SNPs, and believe the phone number is 384-8251.
Okay, and we'll double check that, and after we'll put it in the show notes, so that people can be sure if they wanted to contact. And you got a Facebook page or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page. It's a SNIPS on Facebook.
And that's SNIPS.
Correct.
And that's an acronym for something, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Spay Neuter Initiative Pet Society.
Who came up with that?
I did. Yeah, whenever they was first starting out, they wanted some kind of catchy name, and I kind of tossed it around for a couple of days, and I said, okay, well, we snip them, and what can I make out of snips? Okay, there it is.
You did a great job. It's very catchy. I mean, it
well,
totally,
people remember it.
Totally conveys what you guys are about. Mm. Well, good deal. So they can just, is it S.N. or can they just search? I don't know how the Facebook thing would work on that.
Well, there is a dot after each letter, but I think you can just type in snips. And
is it snips of Jasper or anything like that? Just snips?
No, just snips.
Okay. We'll put some links to the Facebook page, and we'll check that phone number and make sure it's right. We'll put that in the show notes.
Okay.
For people to check and click on if they wanted to donate their time or donate some money to the cause.
Yeah, and we're always looking for volunteers. Some of us are getting older, and it'd be nice to have some new blood come in, somebody that can lift something or pull something or set something up, but
it's not real time intensive. I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, I know I'm not saying you don't do a lot of work in this, but I mean, it's not like if somebody came to volunteer, they're going to be tasked with something, every day or something like that.
No.
What would you expect from a volunteer that came in? Like, how much obligation do they have if somebody was to volunteer for SNIPS?
Well, that's entirely up to them. I mean, if they want to put in an 8-hour day at a festival, we can do that. If they just want to work a shift or something, we can do that. The more the merrier, the shorter the shifts.
Gotcha. So, but as far as getting on the vet days, I guess I could call it that, the vet, when the procedures are going to take place, how often do those happen?
It's once a month. And what SNIPS does, we sign them up over the phone. We do all the paperwork for the vet, and then on the actual vet day when they come here, we set up a table and a tent out at Walmart parking lot on the west end there, and we get them to finalize their paperwork, get them to prepay for their vet visit, and that way, once they're all done, the vet gets there, they can check in, leave their pet, and they're gone. So we just kind of streamline things for them.
That's great. I know that's helping a lot of, it helps out a lot of people to be responsible pet owners. It helps a lot of people, but it's good for the animals too, because I know that procedure, it can help an animal, it can help a dog. I know that me and my wife have always talked about that, especially we have Labradors, and with our female Labradors, we like to have them fixed because we just feel like it's a healthy thing for them. I know that my wife had some females in the past that had some, things that came up because they weren't spayed when they were younger, and so I think it's good for the dogs, and
right.
And just on the reproductive side of it, man, it just kills me to see somebody that has some yard dogs, and I mean, if that's the only thing you can do with your animals, then whatever. Our dogs have a place on the sofa, which some people may think that's crazy, but that's just how we treat our dogs. But
they're part of the family.
They are part of the family, and I just see some yard dogs sometime, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place, for different kind of dogs, I guess. I was just at a ranch the other day, and there were what are those dogs that guard the cows? Those big, I don't know. I forget the name of them, but man, they were in the goat pen with the goats, and they could get out of the goat pen. And, but man, I drove up to that house cause I was going to photograph the property. And, those dogs, they were watching out for those animals there, but those dogs were, they were working. That was their place, and they were happy, and that's all they knew. And they were fine with that. That's what they did. But my dogs, you let them out to go outside to use the bathroom, and especially in the summer, 10 minutes, they're like looking at me like, man, it's too hot out here. We need to get back in the air conditioner, man.
That dude let me in, huh?
Yeah. So, But yeah, I see the yard dogs out, and a lot of times they'll be bred, and every whatever it is, 6 or 8 months, there's a whole new litter of puppies, and they're just running around out there and getting hit by cars and stuff. And man, that's just you want to save them all, but you can't. You just want to stop and collect them all, or get them somewhere that somebody will. Because both of my dogs were. You hear people say, "Oh, I got rescues," but I do. I mean, I had both of my Labradors were stray dogs that I brought in, and I can't think about, especially my little female. It's hard for me to think about her being out on the side of the road, because man, that little dog, man, she means the world to me. And people. Oh yeah. I can't imagine just her being out by herself, or somebody throwing her out or something like that. It hurts my heart to think about that. So. Yeah, it's real touching to think about what you guys are doing and helping make sure that no other dogs or cats and things end up in that. So is that mainly all you guys really focus on, are dogs or cats? There's nothing else people get fixed, is there? Nobody's bringing iguanas up there or hamsters?
I'm trying to think. It seems like we've had something beside a dog or a cat, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
But it's just mainly dogs and cats, yeah.
So no hamsters or gerbils or guinea pigs?
No.
Can you neuter a guinea pig?
I imagine you can.
Yeah. But you probably won't be able to help them, a guinea pig.
Well,
with
we could find out.
You at least try to find.
I'm going to ask tomorrow.
Okay. Well, there's some other community stuff I've seen you involved in. You still hanging out with the troop there?
Not so much anymore. Yeah, my boys and my nephews have got older and went on. I was on the committee there for a while for the troop, the Boy Scout troop here in town, and but haven't been for the past couple of years. I haven't really been doing anything with them.
Yeah, but you were involved with them for a long time. How long were you involved with them?
Well, in Scouts altogether, covering before I got into, I was in Boy Scouts whenever I was younger in Illinois.
Yeah, I was going to ask what led up to that.
In Illinois, probably I was in Scouts for about 4 years before I moved. I was still actually a Scout whenever I moved. Whenever I moved here, for some reason, I didn't get back in the troop. I just didn't know it was available in the area, or I had other interest.
Was it available when you got here?
Yeah, looking back at their history book, after I'd got in Scouts as an adult, I looked back, and they had Scouts at that time.
Okay.
And
so your kids are grown now, and
right. Whenever I first got back into Scouts, it was actually Daisy Scouts and Girl Scouts with my daughters. And then after that, my sons came along and they got of age, and I got back into Scouts again, and it was with Cub Scouts and then Weeblos and then back into Boy Scouts.
Well, yeah, something just clicked with me. I had Chris Lanier in here a little while ago, and we sat down and talked. We were talking about his building here on the square where LRG was previously located. We were talking about the history of that building and stuff, and it was that building that he was in was a menswear store, I believe is what he told me. But they were the authorized Boy Scouts
uniform dealer.
Yeah, where you could go and get your merit badges and your uniforms and stuff like that. And he said he still got that certificate. And I think he said it's in his office, on his wall in his office. He still got that.
Interesting.
So yeah, that is cool. So there were, and that was, man, I forget what year he told me that was, when there probably was in the 50s or 60s, I think he said, maybe. I don't remember. But yeah, how cool. You get out, I see you on, like I said, on social media, some of the stuff, your pastimes, I guess. Dude, you go out and you come up with these, I guess, antiques or just different things that you go out and you go picking or antiquing or something like that. Man, you're always coming up with some cool stuff. I've seen you come up with things, like signs and stuff like that. And then next thing you're posting is like, yeah, I got this 1968 Hearst or limousine. What was that limousine you got that time?
Well, it's actually a 77 Cadillac limousine.
You still have that thing?
I do. Yeah, it's sitting in someone's yard right now, and they were supposed to be redoing it or fixing it for me.
Yeah.
And things came up and he couldn't get to it, and so I'm in the process now of finding someone else to work on it. But yeah, I still have it. And the story with that is I found a boat and a trailer, outboard motor on Facebook. So I went out, struck a deal with the guy, bought it, hooked it up, was coming back with it, and my son was with me. And as we was coming back, we looked alongside the road and said, "What was that?"
There it was.
And he said, "That looked like a old caddy limo." I said, "Yeah, that's exactly what it was." We made a U-turn with that boat behind us, pulled up in his driveway, checked it out, and he wanted exactly the amount I gave for that boat motor and trailer for that Cadillac limo. And I'm thinking, So the son, we left, it was a decent looking car.
Yeah.
Didn't need a whole lot of work. So on the way home, we was talking about it and said, we need to go back and get that. And I was trying to talk myself out of it because most of the stuff I get, it's nothing I need. It's just, it's neat. It's cool. It might have been something I wanted when I was a kid or, seen someone else that had it when I was a kid. Well, by the time I got home, we had ourselves talked into getting it. So got the money, unhooked the boat and trailer, went back up there, got it, paid the guy his money, drove the car back home. So
This episode of Remember Tomorrow is brought to you by Vective Media, providing professional video and photo services to the Lakes area for you or your business. You can see their portfolio or the detailed list of their services at their website at vective.com. That's VEKTIVE.com. So are you mainly, you're a car guy? You like cars or just kind of whatever?
Well, yeah, it's kind of whatever. I think it's kind of neat stuff that I find. My wife thinks it's junk. In fact, she's threatened to call the pickers off a TV, on me. But I try to keep it to a minimum. I used to keep a lot of it in the house, and then we have a guest house in the backyard, and we use that for storage, for years. And then all my stuff got moved out to that house. And then after the kids grew up and started moving off and having a family of their own, the wife wanted to add on to the house. Mm-hmm. And she wanted to close in the carport. Well, I didn't want to lose the carport. I said, well, let's do this. Let's build a patio or a deck onto the back of the house. She's always wanted a deck too. Uh-huh. And then we'll get we called it the little house back then, the guest house in the back. We'll get the little house redone inside and out. And then they can stay there whenever they come. And so I get to keep my carport. So we did that. So all the stuff I had stored in the little house, it had to go someplace else. So I went and got a portable building and moved that to the backyard on the other side of the lot and moved all my stuff over there. So it's filled up now. And the carport, I've got stuff in there, and I got too much stuff, too much junk.
Do you ever sell? You ever trade or sell? Yeah.
Sometimes.
I like to do that too. I'll see things like that I like, and I'll buy and sell and swap and trade. I like old stuff. I like stuff with a story.
Yeah.
I just picked up, I'll share one of my stories with you. I picked up 2 days ago, I needed a sink for my barn where I could clean deer and fish and things. So I had a specific configuration I wanted. It had to be stainless. I needed a stainless, wanted a backsplash on it. So any water, it's not just going everywhere. Well, I found one and kind of made the deal to do it. And it was my buddy that hooked me up with it. And on the way down to pick it up, I had to go to Tvrz to pick it up. And he told me, he said, hey, there's one thing I forgot to tell you about it. He said, I hope this doesn't bother you. He said, but this thing is from the Jefferson County morgue. And I was like, yeah. I was like, that is awesome. That is so cool. Because I don't know, I like to have stuff that's got a cool story.
Right.
So when somebody comes in to my barn and we're going to clean a deer or something, I'd be like, I'll tell, it'll have a cool story. Like, hey, you see that sink right there? That's out of the Jefferson County morgue. So don't tell me how many brains and limbs were in that thing or whatever, But yeah, I like stuff with a story like that. My dad, he's into like World War II stuff. And he just recently got some old Garands that the government had, put up for sale and stuff. And he's all in that. And he's going to these gun shows and getting bayonets, and everything's got to be period correct, and no repop stuff and all that. So my mom, I think she's the one I got my bug from, because she had an antique shop growing up when I was growing up, and it wasn't just an antique shop.
She has a few things, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's got a lot. Matter of fact, when I built my shop, I call it my barn. I try to not call it a shop. It's like, that's my barn. When I built my barn, I had a lot of storage space, so I don't know how many buildings they've got over at their place, and it's kind of a joke. I feel sorry for my stepdad, because it's like she will, start to pack them with her stuff, and I got another sofa. Where's that sofa going? Oh, I'll just stick it in here. I'll rotate it out with this other one, and she's funny. But I think I guess people like us that appreciate the old stuff, we just like to have.
It's the hunt and finding it.
That's it. That's really cool. So I totally understand that. That. Well, I noticed that you get out and you exercise a lot. You're in the park. You're on like a mission right now or something, man, aren't you? What are you doing? Running.
Well,
are you running? Or are you walking?
I would like to run, but my Achilles tendon won't let me.
Yeah.
So
what are you doing? Just staying healthy?
Yeah, it started a couple of years ago. I stopped smoking. I've smoked a pack or more a day ever since I was probably 15, 16 years old. And then I stopped smoking one day. After I stopped smoking, I started gaining weight. So last year, it's been about a year ago in March, my son was going to go out walking in the park. And he said, "Dad, come with me." I said, "Oh, man." Okay. So I went out, and at the time, I had leg problems and back problems. Walking in the park was like the furthest thing from my mind. In fact, the first few times I was walking in, probably about the first month or so I was walking in the park, I was walking with a cane.
Really?
Because my leg and my back hurt that bad.
Wow.
But my son stopped going, and I kept going. And I was kind of inspired. I seen older people out there, older than me. And, they're out there jogging, they're out there walking, and they're not just walking around the pond, they're walking clear down the other end and back.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
So I'd get a couple miles in and I'd be winded. I thought I was going to die. And then
you're just like hating life at that point. You're probably making yourself go, and you're just, I don't want to go to the park, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, they made it look easy, and I didn't, why can't it be easy for me? And so I turned 3 miles into 5 miles, and then I started walking 5 miles every day.
Did you find yourself, when you got going and started doing 3 and 5 miles, did you feel the urge to get out there and do it? Like compelled? Like before, I know that when you started, it was like torture probably getting out there.
Oh, yeah.
And then when you got to that point where your body got built up to it and stuff, were you feeling the desire, like, I want to go to the park and run or walk, I want to go get out,
Yeah, that's the way it is now. I go every morning. I walk 10 miles, at least 10 miles every morning.
Right on.
Now, there might be a day or two I miss during the week. Something comes up. But pretty religiously, I'm out there every morning walking at least 10 miles.
Yeah.
Just, I think I did 12 this morning.
That is great.
And that's just because someone was walking with me and we were talking and just kind of lost track of time.
How many laps is that around the park?
Well, a full lap from Marvin Hancock down to 96 and back. From the east side to the west side of the park and back. That's right about 2 miles.
Okay.
So 10 miles would be 5 laps.
Man,
so
you're killing it. That's awesome. Willie Nelson said if you slow down, you go down. So that's good. You're getting out there and doing that. There's a group of guys I ride bicycle. Well, I'm not going to say I ride with because I've been slacking so much lately. I haven't probably been with them in several months. But they get out there. They're an inspiration to me, and they inspire me. Like, you said you saw those people in the park walking that were older than you, and you were like, man, if they can do it, I can do it. And I get out there with these guys on these trails, on these bicycles. I'm just going to tell you who they are. Blair Bisbee, man, what a machine. Dr. Brent Campbell from Lufkin, another just machine. And Kerry Malone, those guys, they get out there, and they're a little bit older than me, and I cannot keep up with them. They will, in I don't know how many miles the loops are that we do out at the Boykin area riding. And this is like off-road, hardcore mountain biking that we're doing. And I don't know how many times I've been riding, and man, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm not too far behind them. And then one of them will come up behind me and have lapped me around through there, like miles of lapping me. Chuck Ellis gets out there. That dude's, man, those guys get out there, and it just, I guess that's the best way to say it. It's inspiring to see that they maintain that stamina and that strength to get out there and do that. And I'm always like saying, man, I gotta keep it up, because I want to be able to do that when I'm, a little older. And, yeah, because if you slow down, you go down. I think that was Willie Nelson that said that.
Yeah, my business partner, Bubba Ebarb, he's into the bike riding thing. He did the Dam to Dam race. He's done that a couple times. And I think it's called the MS 150 out.
What's the 150 stand for? It scares me.
Miles.
Oh!
And he's done that twice. He didn't finish it the first year. Last year, he did more training and he finished it. And I think it's next weekend. Not this weekend, but next weekend, he goes to do that. It's a 2-thing.
150 miles. Yeah, like, if you put that in a perspective, like where we're sitting right now, what's some other towns 150 miles away? Man, I get tired thinking about driving that distance. Like, man, if I had to drive 150 miles, man, and Bubba's out there knocking it out on a bicycle.
Yeah, he sets a goal. He rides from Jasper to Zavala and back. He rides from...
That's like an evening ride for him. He's like, I'm going to go ride to Zavala and back.
Yeah. He goes to Kirbyville and back. He goes up to Danby and back. That's his training areas. And last year, he set a goal for me. And he said, Dan said, what do they do in the Boston Marathon? And I said, well, that's 26 miles.
26.6. That's what a marathon is, isn't it?
And he said, you ought to shoot for that. And I said, well, they run. I'm not going to run 26 miles. Mm-hmm. I said, I can't do that. He said, well, you could probably walk it. And I said, well, okay, we'll see. Well, last November, I got 26 miles in. And so he set another goal. He said, your next goal is 30.
So he pushes you. He likes to likes to see you.
He likes to see me achieve so that it'll inspire him to do better.
Do you think that kind of mentality and attitude, you two together working like that? Because I know that I've got partners in business that I work with on different projects that are like that. I like to associate myself with people like that, because you surround yourself with good people. You're gonna,
Oh yeah.
It's gonna lift you up. You're gonna try to, and it's gonna inspire you to do better. So, do you think Bubba being that way with you, even with just the exercise stuff in business through the years, do you think that y'all have really helped each other, just played off each other and inspired each other?
Oh yeah. We inspire each other. We push each other. We keep each other in check. Yeah. It's a good partnership.
Man, that's awesome. It's good to surround yourself with people like that and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just glad I got to sit down and talk with you today, because I look at you as being a very inspiring and a person in the community, and just stuff you do. And I appreciate all the stuff you do, especially with SNPs. I think that's a great organization, a great cause. And man, thanks for doing that. Thanks for coming in and sitting in with me today and chatting with me.
It's been my pleasure.